What are some skills people think are difficult to learn but in reality are easy and impressive? Appliance repair. If it's just a busted part, and it usually is, you can order the part online and watch a YouTube video on it and save yourself hundreds of dollars every time. We've repaired our refrigerator, dishwasher, and clothes washer a few times. The hard part is working out which part it is. Don't know if this has been said, but shuffling cards. I used to practice while watching TV as a teenager, to the great annoyance of my mom, and I got really good at shuffling and making it look cool. Now whenever cards need to be shuffled, my friends just hand me the deck and watch. Ooh, I forgot about this one. I learned how to shuffle like 10 years ago, and my family still acts amazed whenever we play cards. Like no, it's actually pretty easy to learn. If you have heard of the control panel, you know more about computers than 90% of the human race. If you can install Linux on a computer, you know more than 99.9%. IT is a field populated with confused people who don't understand how they get paid so much for simply troubleshooting issues on computers. There's a YouTuber called Mike Boyd and he makes videos on learning skills like these. For example, he learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube. His videos show how an average person could learn these skills. Knitting. It's literally just knits and purls. Obviously there are more complicated patterns and stitch combinations, but it all goes back to knits and purls. Like 1 and 0 for computers. You can get fancy with it, but it's all really 1 and 0. Ballroom dancing. Beginners classes are really basic, but you look really cool really fast and impress every single family member at gatherings, weddings. An hour-long crash course with a skilled instructor will absolutely open up the world. Even though I'm not massively coordinated, I can foxtrot and cha-cha rather impressively now. Still need to work on my salsaing, but another class would definitely do me. Fire breathing. It's not that hard, it's just really dangerous. Fire breathing is easy, the hard part is surviving to try it a second time. In rock climbing, anything overhung is immediately impressive to an outsider and anything straight up and down can seem meh, even though difficulty is due to a lot more factors than just how upside down you are. Showing people a route that is overhung but basically ladder rungs can make people go wow even if it's the easiest route. Throw in some unnecessary tow hooks and bicycles for that extra flair. French braid, fishtail braid. My mom taught me to French braid in elementary school and I learned to fishtail braid in about 10 minutes from a YouTube tutorial. Sewing. Even if it's just to do simple repairs, it always fascinated me watching my mom at her sewing machine when I was little. I'm a guy, so I had her show me how to use it. Later on, my grandmother taught me the art of sewing by hand. Also, knitting and crocheting. So I can do basic patch-up repair work on seams and tears. Also, if you have kids, you can fix their favorite stuffed animals when a seam lets go or a sibling rips an ear off. The stuffed animal, not the sibling. It's a little thing, but useful. Seems like it's becoming a lost art. Playing easy songs on guitar. You only need to learn how to use some basic chords, like C, G, D, E, M and such, and some basic strumming pattern and you can impress non-musicians easily. If you invest into a capo, you can play hundreds of songs with just these few chords. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Flicking coins with accuracy and velocity. The trick is to set up your hand like you're going to snap and then just barely inserting the coin in between the thumb and middle finger. Aiming is done with the elbow, so don't make a throwing motion when you flick or the coin will go straight into the ground. Snap your fingers as hard as you can with as much pressure on the coin as you can. The coin should follow the line of your forearm towards and past your elbow. It's a pretty fun party office trick, especially if you can get the coin fast enough to do the ZZZZZMMM sound as it flies. CPR. First aid 2. I got certified for both. Each was just a 3-hour class. There wasn't even a proper test at the end. Most common locks can be picked in seconds. People will think you're some kind of wizard, but it's just basic engineering as locks are very simple devices. The impressive stuff that LPL Bosnia and Bill do is only for the most expensive or unusual locks, and even that can be learned fairly quickly. The padlock in your kitchen drawer is probably some cheap Mr. Lock clone. I've watched some lockpicking lawyer recently. I'm now fairly certain that if the packaging says pick proof, it can be opened with an aggressive stare and a piece of linguine. How to change the channel on your router to one with less interference from your neighbors. People think you're goddamn wizard if you practice Tetris for like a month. In most people's mind, it's a slow, methodical game, so the simple act of throwing down blocks every half second looks unfathomable. Baking a cake. Really? Baking with yeast? Holy frick. People act like you turned water into wine by just making a simple loaf of bread, lol. Counting cards. It's not that hard if you take a few days to practice. It's mostly mental gymnastics to count quicker and to memorize the true count. Thought card counting was impossible until I started playing euchre. I think it's easier because there are fewer cards to keep track of. Knitting and crochet. The hardest part is learning to hold your yarn right, Imo. Knitting I can do no problem. Tried to teach myself to crochet recently and it was painful. Like, I managed to get the hang of the basic chain stitch, but anything more than that just seems to be beyond me. Doing maintenance work yourself on your vehicles. You'd be surprised how easy it is and how much money you'd save by doing it. Was daunted by an engine bay until my Phil helped me swap my engine due to a cracked cylinder head. Learned a lot, and then a few months later when a clutch cylinder failed, I was able to fix it myself for only £25. Honestly, juggling. Don't get me wrong, it's pretty hard to do the complicated crap, but just picking up 3 items and juggling doesn't take much practice. I learned it a while ago, and whenever I pick up anything and juggle with them for a few seconds, everyone's like, how you can juggle. Frick you, I've been trying to learn how to juggle for 6 months now. Eating with chopsticks. I read how to do it, and just tried the next few times I ate Chinese. Suddenly, I realized I accidentally got good at it. When I was first dating my wife, one of our first dates was to go out to a Chinese place. She was impressed when I was just casually eating with chopsticks, and I've since showed her how easy it is. I agree. I always like to take dates out to places where I can use my chopsticks because it usually gives us something to do while we wait. Out of the few people I've dated at a Chinese place, none of them knew how to use chopsticks. 10-finger typing. I played a lot of video games in my youth, and when you type in the chat, your character stops moving. So I learned how to type really fast. I had to take typing in school and type to 110 WPM and the teacher just passed me along. One of the most effective ways to improve your prose, avoid explaining things to your reader. Before, I woke up in an empty room I'd never seen before, still hungover from the night before. From the ceiling hung a single light bulb. I sat up and looked around. Where am I? I thought. After, the light of a fluorescent bulb burned the back of my eyes as I opened them. My head pounded. I sat up and looked around an empty room. Where was I? After, fluorescent light burned my eyes as I opened them. My head pounded. I could still taste the alcohol from last night. I sat up and looked around an empty room. Where was I? Disclaimer. Subject to style voice you're going for, and takes practice. Nice illustration of show, don't tell. No pun intended. Building a computer. It's not even a skill. You just need to know what you need, and it's like putting the circle block in the circle hole. Cooking. And it's also rewarding when you get extremely good at it. Solving a Rubik's Cube. Look it up. You can learn how to solve it in no time, and people will always be impressed. True, it takes only one day, and you will always know how to solve it under 2 minutes. Basic juggling is something you can learn when you're bored on a weekend. This is one of those things I just think my brain can't do. I've tried. I understand the concept, but when I start throwing the balls into the air my brain just freezes and my hands stop working. For myself it's doing voice impressions and accents. All I did was make stupid noises with my voice trying to imitate things. Eventually it worked out and now I can do a variety of many accents and impressions. Takeaway from it all, just do some stupid noises and you'll be imitating things in no time, lol. If you're a musician, playing scales really fast tends to impress non-musicians, when in reality it's the most fundamental, straightforward thing you can play. Good ol' muscle memory. Before learning to drive I always thought it was so complicated and soon realized it really wasn't. Manual. Repair work on just about any household appliance. YouTube is incredible. After my started traveling a lot for work, I started YouTubing how to fix major appliances, the fridge, the dryer, etc. because they all act up as soon as he packs his bags. Most appliance repairs are ridiculously easy to learn, especially with a video to learn along with. I've started taking the $ saved by not calling a repairman and depositing it into a vacation savings account. Not to mention, I feel like a dang goddess when my kids watch me take apart a refrigerator, diagnose and solve the problem, and then help me put it back together. I love that they're learning how to work with their hands and see their mom use power tools with ease. Saying the alphabet backwards. I learned that when I was 12 cause a girl could do it. Asked a cop if he wanted to hear it one night during a sobriety check. He said no. I passed. Chopping veg in a circular motion against the knuckle. Knowing when to shut the frick up instead of opening your mouth at every given opportunity goes a long way. This is something I've been working on and it's been very rewarding. I started to realize that I was just voicing thoughts to make myself less anxious, realizing that my thoughts are normal, or at least transient, and that I don't need to validate them all the time by voicing them has been great for my mental well-being. Using the signal light on a vehicle to indicate that you are turning. Cracking an egg with one hand. Just give it a try. It's unbelievably easy and you can figure it out on your own. It's easier than using two hands, Imo. Swimming in the ocean. South Africa has a lot of beaches and you're expected to swim far away by the age of 7. Aren't there a ton of sharks in there? Photography. Get a camera. Doesn't even need to be amazing. That can shoot in RAW. Heck, even most phones shoot good quality RAW these days. Then use Lightroom and follow a basic YouTube tutorial. I've had photos used in marketing campaigns by major festivals, events, and literally all I did to go from photos that looked like they were taken on a disposable camera to that was start shooting in RAW and watching a couple of YouTube tutorials on Lightroom that took up less than an hour of my time. People always say how impressive my photos are, but I have to point this out as I have no natural skill. Follow rule of 3 RDS and you instantly become better than 80% of the population. Slav dancing. It's very easy when you learn the basics. Just squat and do little jumps. I learned how to throat sing, overtone singing, in about an hour. It's really fun to pull out at the D&D table when the party encounters a monk or a hermit. New players never see it coming. Map and compass. It takes some work, but really, for the purposes of what you'd mostly do with it, it's fairly easy to learn. Getting fit. You're pretty sporty on that bike, you know that? I could never do that. You can. I was breathing like I'd have asthma and was smoking, but if you keep up the training for a while it'll come by itself. If you keep up the training for a while, that became difficult pretty quick. Sewing. I took it up less than a year ago and make my own clothes. When people compliment my top and I say I made it, it always seems to blow their mind. It's way easier than people think. Riding a motorcycle. Cooking. You can make anything just laying around the fridge, you just need imagination. You've been visited by the good sleep oinker. You will be blessed with cozy, restful sleeps, but only if you comment sleep tight porker. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.